live. Testing. Stream. Testing. Sound. Hey Jess, can you see and hear me okay? I changed a few things. Just making sure. There we go. Not showing me as live. Awesome. And let me move back over here. Should be good now. Wow. Thank you for the follow. Just a few seconds into stream. Let's see. Oh, that EdX win makes me think of FMA. I don't know if that's intentional at all, but I like that name. Yeah, today is another Monday, which means another stream. I changed my camera, or I moved it a little, so I'm going to just be good. Yeah, just gonna jump right back into what we were working on last time, which was puttying. So yeah, I was like, where are all the pieces? But they're all here. Last time we did a whole lot of sanding involving Bondo, which is a glazing and spot putty. Yeah, I couldn't get my desktop audio to work, Canon. Turns out I needed to like restart my Streamlabs. Oh my god. But it's good. If you guys can hear it, we're good. I just had to play this song. Yeah, so we're gonna jump right into this. Last time we did a whole bunch of puttying with Bondo, which is a glazing and spot putty. And so we're just gonna keep going with it. We did a couple pieces already, which I can move to the side. So let's see. All of these ones up here are officially done and ready to, I guess, be, well, other than this, to be primed and then ready for the second round of sanding. But the other stuff's still not even close. So we're just gonna keep going with that. Before I forget, I'm actually going to putty this little hole. I drilled it a couple streams back because we were figuring out whether or not it needed to be pinned or magnetized. And so instead we decided to go in with a magnet. So I can fill in this hole. You're not really going to even see it when you're attaching the kit, but it's still a good idea and I just want it taken care of. So let me grab my light carrying putty. Didn't think I'd need it today. Should have known. Okay. Oh, there goes my camera again. There we go. Okay. Got a couple toothpicks here. I need to refill my toothpicks again. I've been using a lot of them lately. So let's just fill this in real quick. How are you guys all doing today? Tonight? Hopefully good. Another beginning of a week. So gotta end it today with being a little productive. Actually didn't test this angle if my head goes in. It goes in a little bit, so I'll just have to back up. Alright, holding this piece up to the light right now. This is, for those unfamiliar, talked about a couple times, this is Tamiya light curing putty. Don't mind how nasty it looks, this is a pretty old tube. But this putty will cure in about a minute, so I use it for small jobs and other minor holes and stuff I need to fill in. It dries a really bright yellow, really easy to sand down. So let's see, holding this. I'm gonna move my computer a little bit closer so you can see what's playing. Okay, this should be drying now. Doesn't take very long. You can see it's a nice yellow. So I'm going to take some sandpaper, see if I have any nubs. I'll pull out a 400 and where's my 800s? Oh, there's one. A little used. There's a nice one. Okay. So I'm gonna go in real light with the 400 at first just to sand it down a decent amount. And then I'm gonna smooth everything out with an 800 grit. Okay. Nope, this one's completely used. Okay, needs a little bit more up here. Yeah, none of this hole will be visible when we end up gluing the kit together, but just good practice. There's like another couple holes that just opened up when I sanded that. Oh, that means it's time for more Bondo. Okay. I also need my cardboards. Pull out cardboard. Okay, so we've got a piece of cardboard, which I'm just gonna apply Bondo on. And I also need my cup of thinner, which I also did not prepare. So I need to pour that out real quick. Use my big jug. Okay. Hello. Alright, I think now we're prepared. Just had to take out a few other things. So, I'm going to put a little bit of the Bondo in these spots where, let me get my glove, where I noticed there were some little dents. Actually, got my thing here. So I added a little bit of thinner to this Bondo to make it wetter and easier to apply. See how many pieces we can get done with tonight. This is really the last step we have before we do a final test fit, and then we can start priming. And then after that, we'll see how bad the damage is, how much more we need to sand and correct. Right. A little bit. Okay. We'll put that to the side for now. What else? I have a bunch here. I'll just use this putty layer because I wanted to start sanding the leg again. So I forgot if I think I did this last stream. I applied a bunch of putty in between her legs here. And last time we basically sanded down all of the bloomers after applying a lot of putty. There was a lot of holes that are filled in on her lower leg especially, and her shoe. And then it kind of goes up here. And this side was worse than the others. Actually, no, this side was worse than this one. There were a lot of micro holes and different dents. Hey, how you doing, Mr. Freaky? Nice to see you. We're just continuing where we left off last time, which was the legs. But yeah, last time I puttied these, I just kind of let this putty dry. We also have sanding cloth. So I think this is, yep, always more sanding. I feel like 80% of this stream is just me sanding, but that's really how kit building is. But yeah, so last time, what did I say? Oh yeah, I puttied this, and then I'm gonna go in with the sandpaper here. I'm just using a cloth sandpaper right now to fill in some of this stuff, or to sand it down. And this is a high enough grit. I think this is either a 600 or an 800 cloth sandpaper. And so I can really smooth everything down real quick. And it's a little better angle than trying to go in with a like paper sandpaper, one that you have to bend. So this is not as flexible, and it's a little difficult to get in some angles. So it's a lot easier to use the cloth one for that. And let's see, I want this to kind of last a while, so I'm gonna brush off the dust. This is a magic eraser. Oops, uh-oh. So yeah, every time that I use this, I can kind of brush off the excess dust so I can get a little more use out of this cloth. Also, here we go. I had an alligator clip with another one, and so this is a pretty typical setup I use. There are all sorts of mechanisms you can use, ones that have like two ends, and so it just makes it straight. Sorry, makes it straight. But I like the flexibility with one, so I usually just attach a piece of this cloth paper to an alligator clip. Why is this not playing? Just slow. This one's pretty good. Okay. Anyway, so yeah, I just apply, or I just attach a piece of the cloth sandpaper to an alligator clip, and that way I can bend it and manipulate it however I want. Yeah, I'm just gonna give this a light sanding. And there's a huge line that's kind of running all along the inside of her leg. I'll grab a photo in a bit. Also, a little bit of extra putty that was left here. It's gonna be a little difficult to get it though. Okay. I might do, let me grab some toothpicks. And I'm gonna do a technique I did last time, which is just dip the toothpick in the thinner and kind of push it into the area. So this will thin down the putty and take some excess off. But you'll be able to wipe it out from areas where it's difficult to reach. Might just have filled in the area, to be honest. Wow, there's a lot happening there. Okay. That's kind of good enough for now. So to show off what I am doing, let me take a quick photo so you can see the inside of the leg, hopefully. Okay. Yeah, so this is the inside of the leg, basically, right? This line right here that I've sanded down. So there's absolutely, hard to tell in this light. Yeah, so this whole line right here, that's what the inner area that I applied the putty, and it just sanded it down. And so all of that is like extra seam line stuff that just kind of cut a hole into the kit, or a notch into the kit. So we want to make sure all of that is filled in before we start priming. Otherwise it's going to show up in the prime job. So other legs will need this treatment as well. It's a little tough once you get into these like kits where the legs are applied, because it's just not easy to reach, and especially if you have to do putty corrections, it's kind of annoying. I'm fully expecting priming to be a little bit difficult. There'll be like a lot of fuzzies we need to sand down because it's going to be hard for my airbrush to reach certain crevices. A lot of like moving the kit around is going to have to happen. Not to mention this red primer is going to need a couple coats too. Okay, just kind of focusing on this right now. This other leg is somehow even worse on the inside. I'm glad I thinned that putty down a lot because there are just so many tiny holes that it filled in. Let's see. What paints do I usually use? Kind of a couple of brands at this point. Primarily, I paint with lacquer paints, which are meant for an airbrush. There's a couple of brands I use for those. The brand I use the most is called Gaia Notes. It's a brand out of Japan, followed by probably Mr. Color. I use a lot of their top coats and other like more specific colors, I guess. I use Mr. Color. I've also dabbled with SMS paints. It's an Australian lacquer paint brand. because they've got a huge variety and a lot of really interesting metallic and pearl colors that are, it's a little hard to find like really nice pearls and stuff, and so being able to import those is a good thing. Yeah, other than that, I paint pretty much everything with lacquer these days, but all of my details are painted with enamel paints, and those I use Gaia Notes and Tamiya. So I don't really airbrush with Tamiya acrylics these days. I've kind of moved beyond using them, just kind of personal preference. I don't like how they look when they come out of the bottle onto the kit, because usually the color changes quite drastically when you apply a top coat. Whereas like these other brands like Gaia Notes, the color is pretty consistent all the way through. So yeah, it's just what I use. I'm willing to try it pretty much any of them, but a lot of these lacquer paints are difficult to get into the US, especially now with shipping shortages and delays and everything. So it's an interesting time if you're like just getting into modeling, because a lot of stuff is sold out everywhere. It's, you know, pretty hard to get. Okay, let me take one more photo of this, but at this point the legs are all sanded, so come on. There we go, it's kind of a good one. So I'm trying to tell which, this one, so this here, this is the inside of the leg that I just sanded down. As you can see, there's an insane number of really tiny micro holes here that we would not be able to reach normally. And so Bondo is able to thin down to a consistency where it fills in all of those. But even then, after we apply the primer, there may still be a couple of holes that haven't been filled in. So it's just something that we do first to make sure, you know, that a lot of these are filled in, and then we'll go in with it with the second pass. This is her whole leg right here. Camera's not having focusing problems, but you can see the bubbling is crazy. This is actually pretty darn bad of a cast. Like, you don't want to see this in a cast, all of these bubble problems, because it's just like so much more prep and sanding needed. But yeah, so that's those. Once we prime, we'll be able to see maybe more. I'm not really sure yet. So we will move on. I'm gonna leave this a little bit longer. It's still not fully dry. And before I continue sanding these frills, I'm gonna apply some more Bondo to other pieces, and that way it'll have a chance to dry. We'll have a lot of that to do tonight. So let's see. Let's work on her hair bands, and then I'm gonna move on to her arms, and that should be enough for now. Kind of want to do her faces last. And actually this would be really fun, so, but I don't know if I want to do that right now. And her hair is kind of meh, so I don't feel like doing that now either. Okay, so let's see, where's my, good enough, here we go. So we're gonna reactivate this putty a little bit. Easy to do if you have thinner on hand. Yeah, it gets wet pretty much immediately. Okay, so I'm gonna put it on her hairband first. A little more. Really want this kind of wet and spreadable, because it should go on in a thin layer at first, I think. If you get it too thick, then it gets annoying and you have a lot of sanding to do. Yeah, I'm just going to be using a toothpick and kind of thinner to spread this stuff out everywhere. Yeah, the holes are pretty crazy on that one, you guys. Sorry, I just read the comments. Don't remember if there were any holes on the top of her ribbon. I do remember them just being on the ends. So I'll put a few bits of the thinner, or not the thinner, the putty along the top, but one of those QA/QC checks. I do remember there were also some bubbles kind of on the inside of her frills here and ribbon. So Oh, what am I doing? I'm trying to like suck up the putty. Okay, too much. I just really don't want to over apply it. Can always sand it down, but still. Okay. And let me hold the bottom while I put it on the other side. Or thinner. Really liberally applying that thinner. Oh yeah, I see them along the ends here. I can even see them without being up close, so that's pretty bad. Sorry, covering the other side right now. It may be hard to see with my finger in the way. Okay, I'm just gonna leave it like that for now. But the frills need a whole lot, so. I'm gonna. Pretty much all of the frills on this kit were a total mess, whether it was the hairband or her apron. Oh yeah, and also we have a little bit more sanding and resculpting to do on this piece that I almost forgot about. We applied some Tamiya quick type epoxy. It's a 2-part epoxy on this piece in order to make it fit a little better in the hairband or into her hair. And so I have not fully sanded all of that down yet. Some of this putty kind of got stuck in the frills, and so I'm gonna need to carve it out at some point. And then now we have this Bondo that fills in between too, so this piece is gonna need a lot of care. So just kind of applying a thin coat along all of it at this point. Not something you necessarily want to do on any piece. Not that I'm saying don't do it, but you want a nice cast. You don't want a cast where you're forced to do this. But sometimes you don't get lucky. Sometimes, you know, it's hit and miss with original casts, and this is one of those cases where it's a miss. So, okay. We'll just leave that for now. It might need a second round of puttying, but not sure. Let's see. I have a kit and now I'm gonna have to put a crap ton of putty on. Sucks. That's all I can say. I feel you. Feel the pain. But you know, as long as you like thin it down like this or apply it in bits, it's really manageable. I like to sometimes, if I'm feeling discouraged, just work on a couple pieces at a time, or maybe I'll say like, oh, I'm gonna work on, you know, these pieces today or whatever. And that way you're making progress. It's slower, but you're making progress, and that way a kit's not just sitting there, you know, forever. Hey, Ambush, how are you doing? Wow, that is a cute heart. Hope you are doing well tonight. We are just doing more puttying. Whoa! Whoa! I don't know what any of those are. Is this what's called a bit? I was like, that's a really cute emote, but I think it's something else. Oh, I just dropped the whole piece in. Well, thanks you guys. Thanks so much. Okay, got sidetracked. But yeah, thank you. Those are really sweet. From what I remember on this piece, the seam line was kind of along the top, like all along here, and then along the inside, and so it's a little difficult. Let me see if I have a alligator clip to help me. Yep, so just gonna put this stuff on an alligator clip, at least this piece. I'll probably do the same for the other one. If you have magnets, this is just something you can do to aid you when you're puttying. Yeah, that's kind of why I'm waiting till the end hollow. for her faces because I'm nervous about where those holes are going to be and how much work I'm going to have to do. I really don't want to put the Bondo on her face, but I might have to. But yeah, so I'm using an alligator clip right now because her arms had magnets, what we did before. So this is an easy way to hold a piece, especially if you're working on a smaller kit like I usually do. Clips are a good way. Okay, I'm gonna leave it like this for now. There's a lot of putty and kind of random bow spots, and I'm not sure what I'll need to fill in. I'm just gonna put it up here. I have a workbench area set up, where it's like a piece of wood with a bunch of holes drilled in it, and that's usually what I put my alligator clips on. So I'll just set it there to dry, and then we'll return later. Let me look real quick where the seam line was here. Okay, seam line was actually along the side, so. Okay. Putting thinner straight on it at this point. Get a nice consistency. Okay. Getting a little hard to manage. I like to bend it down so much my toothpick is not picking it up. There we go. Yeah, these pieces look pretty nasty with all the putty covering it. Might as well just cover the top too. Okay. And I know that the inside of her shoulder also had some holes. Okay. So that's pretty good at this point. The whole piece is almost filled up. There wasn't any sanding that needed to happen over here, and so I did not apply any putty. Let me double check, make sure I got in her shoulder. Yeah, there's a little more I need to do on this piece that I was already done with. Okay. I don't want it too thick because then it's going to be annoying. That should be good. Let all of that dry. This is already getting, you know, to a point where it's almost dry. The thinner your layer is, the faster it's going to dry. Still have some wet putty here, so I'm going to just put some of it on her hair and might as well let it sit. Let's see. Seam line started here, so. And I'm gonna just go, oops. I recall this hair not being as bad, but it's been a while since I looked at it, so I could be totally off. Looking in, seeing where I started. Oh, I remember. I started over here last time. That's why. So let me look real quick. Okay. We'll just continue working on this side. We'll forget that the other side had putty. Can sand that down later. I did some work on this kit before, right about here, because I was curious if there were any dots I needed to fill in, and yes sir, there were, so. Basically what I'm looking at now is seeing where the seam line on this kit was, because we did all of that sanding already, but almost all of these bubbles are concentrated where the seam lines were, so let me just kind of smooth this. Okay, so I'll leave that for now, and I'm going to put this putty to the side and continue sanding her frills, which we were working on last stream. These frills fit into the bottom of her skirt here, so when it's fully ready it'll look like this, but as you can see right now there's a lot of putty that's kind of in between the slots of the frills, and just a lot of random redness that needs to be sanded out. So let me see if this is dry. Yeah, I'll sand this down first just to get it out of the way. A lot smaller than sanding all the frills. There we go. Pretty good. Yeah, when I was sanding just a couple seconds ago, I noticed that there were minutes ago, I noticed there were a couple holes that I missed when I was puttying this before. So it wasn't really even holes, it's just two kind of scratches near the top. Not sure if those happened while we were figuring out the drilling or if they were always there, but wanted to fill them in. So this should be good now. Yep. So, and you can't even see those when she's built. So it's just more for a personal thing. Okay, so put that over there. And we'll go on to this. So a lot of sanding we need to do on this piece. I'm gonna go in a little bit briefly with the 400 grit to get off these big areas, and then I will use my 800 like usual. Might need to cut some more 800 grit sandpaper. I forgot to last time, and I think I'm running a little low. Okay, then remove my glove so you guys can see a little better. A lot of sanding needing to happen. This piece was also, not only was it full of holes, but it had a lot of scratches and stuff in it, and so I'm hoping the Bondo will correct a lot of that. Let's see. I do have some more, so switch between a couple papers. Yeah, right now I'm sanding along the top. I haven't even really started any of the frills yet. This is the piece that fits kind of on the inside of the skirt, so keep putting the skirt away. But yeah, the inner edge where I'll be applying all the glue later, that's what this is, what I'm sanding down right now. Kind of applied a whole lot of Bondo, and so gotta take all that excess off. Okay, so I'll do over here. And then I'm gonna kind of go along the tops, what I'm doing now. Did this a little before. Don't want to take off like resin, just the Bondo. So. And down here, then we'll go along the bottom. And then after that, I need to focus on the inside of each of these frills. So it's going to be the time-consuming part. Okay. So let me take a quick look, just so I can tell what I'm working with. I'm looking at it now, and there's pretty much a whole bunch of tiny micro bubbles that filled in all along the top ones. So once we start filling in a couple of these middle ones, or sanding it all out, I can take a photo and show you guys. So yeah, right now, let's see if this works. Kind of sanding in between with a piece of 800 grit. Let me then try the thinner method. The only thing that I risk with this one is that it'll take out the thinner that is already in these bubbles, which I don't want. Okay. Wow. Well, it doesn't really matter. There's like actually a ton of bubbles on the inner like edge, and so this might be a better approach, is to take the toothpick and kind of smear that putty in, and that way any excess will be like soaked up, but the rest will go into that into the micro holes. Let me here. Ooh, okay. Yeah, so I think I'm going to use the toothpick method for this, and we'll see how that goes. Because what I just did is I smeared in a whole bunch of the putty, so it was already dry, but I reactivated it with the toothpick, and kind of wiped it up / smeared it down into the cracks. And what I'm finding, at least what I found for that piece in between here, is there's a ton of micro bubbles that it's just covering. Priming this piece is going to be interesting, because the concern is, like, you know, you'll see spots of Bondo you need to sand down, but at the same time, pretty bad. This is going to be a little time consuming. Yeah, really what I want to do is, you know, reactivate it, get it down in those cracks, and then any excess that's dried up, I'll just sand off. I think this will be the most time-consuming piece tonight, is finishing up these frills. The apron's gonna be the same thing, so I'm gonna put that off till Wednesday. Get another Q-tip. I don't like using too many of these because it just feels wasteful, but at the same time, there's a lot of work that needs to happen that involves these, so try to use it as much as I can. And a regular toothpick or a regular Q-tip would be too big for this type of area. This kit's too small. Okay, so let me take a quick photo of, well, actually, let me sand down this first, and then I'll show you guys kind of what I'm seeing possible. Okay, let's see. Need to move into the light a little. Okay. Okay, so I'm not sure if you guys can see this, but see if the camera can focus. Come on, camera, focus. Camera. There we go, close enough. I just have to zoom in. So this is the top of the frill. I know what you can see, the piece that comes out, and then there's a dip, and this is what's inside of the dip. And so there's all these holes. There's even more kind of along the side that you can't see, and it's pretty bad. So, and there's like, this is what I mean. So this kind of goes inside the inner edge, and then as it comes out, they're all along the slanted slope side there. So, and same here, all of this here. This area has not been sanded yet, so you can see it's still pretty red. But yeah, this in particular is concerning to me, and what I was noticing when I was doing the resculpting, because I would dig in with the X-Acto knife to kind of shape these folds. Then like all of these little micro bubbles would come out, and so yeah, that's pretty much, I was like, oh no, that means I gotta do more sanding. Just stuff that you'll notice. And then, so the problem with that is when you prime your kit, you're gonna see all those tiny holes, and if you paint them, like if you just didn't bother filling them in, your kit is gonna have a little bit of a texture going on. And so if you want that truly smooth look, you know, that so many figures have, you gotta fill in all this stuff. You're using like, and also it depends on your camera, right? So if your camera's not gonna pick that up, if you're taking photos from kind of far away, it might not be as big of an issue. But I like to go in real close with my kits when I do my photos, and so any of those tiny imperfections they're just gonna stand out like crazy. To me, it does not matter how big the kit is. It's still all gotta be treated the same way. And yeah, I've been working with some pretty small stuff lately, so my eye is like tuned for that right now. Okay, oh yeah. This one I probably should have sanded first. Kind of a lot of putty in here. There we go. Let's see. Are micro holes something you found yourself noticing more and more? Yes, definitely. Ibuprofen. Yeah, micro holes and like defects in general are something that you will get used to the more you build with kits, and you'll know, you know, what to look for the more you work with figures. I certainly have figures that I bought long ago in my closet that I like worked on, you know, and you know, everyone who works in garage kits has like a couple kits that they do a little bit of sanding on, they do a little putty, and then they put it away because they're like, I don't want to mess with that right now. And I have them too. There's a couple in my closet like that. But what I noticed is that, you know, I take them out whenever, every couple years, and I noticed even more problems with it that I hadn't noticed like in the years before. And so yeah, definitely the more experience you have, the more you'll get used to knowing what to look for. I think that also kind of speeds up the process because, you know, you go into a kit thinking, okay, I gotta do this. I see this, you know, I can tackle this with this skill set. And so once you have, you know, kind of your own arsenal of products that you like and methods that you use, it gets easier and you know how to start handling stuff. When you're first starting out, it can absolutely be kind of like overwhelming because especially everybody has kind of their own way they build kits. And so if you're going into it thinking like, oh my god, I have to do all this like insane prep and do it this way and have this specific product, like it can get complicated real quickly. So my advice is just to go into it with the intent of having fun. You know, hopefully you'll notice a couple big things, like you want to sand off seam lines and do all sorts of stuff. But you don't have to be totally crazy about it. Like, you'll learn more as you're building more. And, you know, as artists, we're always like thinking what's wrong with our kits, but at the end of the day, you're gonna have a painted, finished product that you're proud of. And so, to me, that's what's most important. Like that feeling of something that you created, that's the best feeling. Let's see, I wonder if maybe I had a bad eye, of course. Yeah, definitely. Yep, exactly. Yeah, every single kit that I work with, it's like something different, or even, you know, when I'm building a kit, I'm like, oh, I could have done it this way, but yeah, it's just a matter of, you know, keep going, keep building. You know, every kit's gonna be unique and different, and I can definitely say, having experienced a fair number at this point of originals and recasts, although those were, you know, much earlier in my kit career, every single kit is different. every single original I've worked with is different, whether it's cast quality, you know, resin type, they're all unique. And so you kind of just gotta, I guess that's the fun of it. You never know like what's gonna happen. And that's kind of why I like working with originals too, is it's exciting to see how the kit will turn out when they're all so different in the beginning. The only thing that I really don't like doing is re-sculpting. So that's, I'm mostly talking about like minor issues that a kit has, like if a hair strand breaks, or I haven't had it happen to me, but if you accidentally lose a part, sometimes you have to like re-sculpt it. That is always challenging to me because I work with this stuff and I'm, you know, a painter and all of that, but I'm not a modeler. Like I don't sculpt stuff. I don't, I make like props and other mini things. So I make like miniatures, but I don't re-sculpt. And so taking putty and doing all of that and sanding it down to fit the exact, like, you know, hair and whatever, I don't enjoy doing that. That's just, I know lots of people in this hobby do, not really for me. So that would be the only thing that I don't like about this whole prep process. But I set it up that way so I don't like have to do that because I don't enjoy doing that. So I don't really have an issue with it. Okay, we are just moving on and sanding in between all of these and taking our toothpick now and then and wiping out the excess red stuff, hoping to fill in some holes along the way. If not holes, like scratches. There's a lot of other random scratches and like dents in this, in between the frills, that I'm filling in as well. Okay. Also, the more putty I add to this, the redder this kit is getting. I might need another toothpick. Yeah, it's too filled up at this point. Trying to get this little dot of red out. Bondo did too good of a job filling it in. Should be good. Yeah. Wow, I was about to just dump my piece of sandpaper in my thinner. No, thank you. Okay. Let's do this. This one. A lot of putty in between this crack for whatever reason. I really don't want to use a 400 too much in between here because the risk of scratching is way higher. Get another, here we go. Okay. I'm gonna blow away some of this extra. I have a feeling these frills are gonna take 2 or 3 passes to get to a point where I'm satisfied. So we'll do this initial, you know, sanding, get all these ready, and then prime. But after that, I'm expecting to do some more sanding and filling in. Thankfully, the color scheme isn't too complicated on stuff like the frills, and so I'm not too concerned about you know, messing up or needing to repaint these pieces if we mess up in the paint job. It can be kind of a pain because if you mess up with the paint job, you have to, you know, wipe your thinner or wipe your paint and your primer down. But if you do that and put, you know, all the paint stripper on it, it's going to take out all the Bondo too. So then you'll have to fill all of that in again. So it pays to approach this stuff carefully. You don't want to have to do this a couple of times. Other putties don't really have that problem, so if I was using like my UV clear gel or Tamiya light curing stuff, that it wouldn't be wiped out when you apply the paint thinner. It's just this Bondo product in particular, which is why we're able to thin it with thinner and get it into these tiny holes, because it just, yeah, it's compatible. So, like I've been saying, blessing and curse when it comes to this product. Biggest concern is putting it on the skin and then, you know, messing up in the paint job in the skin, which can definitely happen. Not gonna remove that from our realm of possibility when I'm doing the painting portion. So I'm gonna try to do the clear skin technique on this kit. We'll see how that goes. I'm not really sure. And it's not 100% necessary. I'm not even sure how many pieces there are. I think it's really just, I'm looking at the box art right now. I think it's really just her hands and the head. Looks like, oh, and maybe, no, even her legs in the box art are painted white, like white stockings, and so we may not even have to paint her legs. That might be nice. We'll see. I haven't locked down a color scheme for this kit other than how I want her hair color, and so the rest is kind of open. And even then, I'm like debating between a couple of different colors in the realm of the same palette for the skins, or for the hair. But spring is basically coming, and so I want to kind of make her spring themed. No pastel hair or anything like that. It's gonna be a more realistic hair, if not still kind of anime, but she's not gonna have like green hair or anything like that. Have I even ever painted a kit with green hair? I'll look over at my bench. Only like once or twice, I think. Not a huge fan of green hair. Okay, keep going. Hopefully you guys can see it okay. I know I keep putting my finger all over the piece, and so it can be a little difficult, but we made pretty good progress. Well, thought we did. There's like some rando pieces. We started here and we're about like here, so we've got almost halfway. It's just tedious because each of these are like little crevices that I have to sand each one individually. It's a lot more difficult than a flat surface. And thankfully the frill sculpt in here wasn't overly complex, meaning that like they're kind of angular and there's like they don't necessarily look like really detailed frills, and so even if I sand down or over sand a little bit, it's not going to impact the look of the kit. If you get a kit with really complicated frills, that can be an issue, like ruffles, and it's got a really nice sculpt. You don't want to mess with that too much. What's my skin tone method again? What did you call me? My toe? Well, I got distracted. So I use the clear skin method by Gaia Notes primarily. So let me pull the bottles out real quick so you guys know what I'm talking about. I've got it right here. So I use Gaia Notes 059 and 060. These are called Surfaceless Flesh Pink and Surfacerless Flesh Orange, but you can just call them 059 and 060. These are clear, like clear paints, and so let me shake them up real quick so you guys can see what they look like. These are kind of the holy paints. They're really hard to find now because everybody wants to buy them in COVID. This one's a little dried out, but it's okay. Wow, it's pretty dried out. So yeah, this is the orange. You can see it's kind of not dried out, but a lot of the thinner has been, you know, removed out over time. And so what you can do is just kind of, I just put a lacquer thinner in there. Let's see. There you go. Yeah, it's pretty thick at the bottom right now. So the way the lacquer paints work is that you can add thinner to them, like lacquer thinner, and it will reactivate the paint. You can't really do that with like Tamiya acrylics or anything. So this is the orange. It looks kind of goopy right now, but it just needs to be thinned down a whole lot more. And so basically when it sprays on, it's not like clear as in transparent like white, but it goes on in really thin transparent layers. And so what you do is you mix some ratio of the orange and the pink. So it's not really pink, it's more like a fluo kind of orange color. See if I can get it out like this. And so you mix some ratio of those two together and it will create a skin tone color. I don't know how Gaia Notes invented this color line or how much testing they did, but you can thin them in any ratio, whether it's like 1-1, so 1 part pink, 1 part orange, or 1-2, so 1 part pink, 2 parts orange, or vice versa. A lot of people do 1-1, but there's any infinite number of paint combinations that you can use to get these skin tones. And so the pinker you want it, the more pink you're going to apply, and the more orange you want it, the more orange you're going to apply. So I don't really have a set like ratio that I use. It kind of depends on every kit. A lot of times I end up going 1-2, so it'd be 1 part orange, 2 parts pink at first, but it just really depends. I switch it up, and pretty much none of my kits are consistent. So yeah, you can. So what you'll do is you mix these two together, and you apply them in very, very thin layers onto your kit. And the more layers that you apply, the more vibrant and like not necessarily darker, but more saturated the color of your skin tone will be. And so the way to do it, the proper way to apply this is that you'll apply your shading first. And so using the 2 paints here, you'll put it into cracks, so like along her ear, or if you want her to have like a little bit of shading around her eye, you'll do the eye, along the top of the head here, and then you're going to spray all over your kit. And so when you get another layer on top, the shading layer is going to appear darker, but your base layer will not be. The areas that weren't shaded. And so that's kind of a brief how-to on skin tone, like clear shading. There's all sorts of other things you can apply and do with it. You can apply like clear brown to change the color a little bit, all sorts of different stuff. So this is my primary one that I use. I also own the Mr. Color Lascivous, I think that's how you pronounce it, Mr. Color Lascivous line, which is a little bit different. Give me 1 sec, I'm gonna get a drink. Yeah, okay, good. I just read your comment, Canon. So yeah, the Lascivous line is similar but different because it contains a couple of numbers of paints. There's CL1 and CL02, which are considered the base shades of Mr. Lascivous. One is white peach and the other one is cocoa milk. And so if you want a lighter, like white anime skin tone, you would go in with the white peach first and put that on your kit. But if you wanted a darker skin tone, like super tanned, it's not necessarily black. Like I wouldn't say this is good for African American black characters, but I think that the paint for cocoa milk is closer to like Indian color shades. It sounds like not Native American even, like from India, Indian people. That's kind of what it feels like to me when I spray it out. And so they are opaque paints, meaning not transparent. So yeah, you apply CL1 or CL02. I've never tried mixing them. You could try mixing them together, but you might get some weird results. And so you'll apply that as your base shade, and then after that you'll put on CL03, CL04, and or CL05. Those paints are transparent paints, so similar to the Gaia Notes that I just showed before. They're clear, they go on clear, meaning more transparent. And you can get any number of shades with those. I forgot the exact names of them, but 03 is a red, like a reddish one, kind of similar to the Gaia Notes pink, but more red in tone. The 04 is an orange, and the 05 is a brown tone. And so any number of combinations are available with those. You can also mix and match, and so what you can do is, you know, spray your, CL01 and then mix like a ratio of 03 and 05 or something like that, and you know, go that way. They've also extended the line to, I think, either 08 or 09. Beyond that, though, it gets a little like fuzzy in my mind. I just know that one of them is a white pearl, and that's something else. Dealing with pearls are another thing entirely. So, yeah, I would say that the Mr. Lascivus line is not like true skin clear tones. I also think that they're a little bit too harsh. Like, I have no problem with their 03 to 05. The CL01 and CL02, I don't think they're really suited. I know they're designed for like anime skin tone, but they don't spray like that, and they come out really harsh. The CL01 is a white peach, and so you'd think that it would be like a, you know, a nice kind of peachy, warm skin tone, but it's just like eggshell yellow. It's really eggshell yellow. And the 02, like the cocoa milk, I've gotten some really interesting results from that, but it's so easy to go too far with that skin tone, and it just ends up being ashy if you go too far with it. And so what I usually do if I'm spraying like a really tanned kit, and this might work for you, Canon, is go with really thin layers of the 02 until you get it to near a shade where you think Kuro is. And then after that, apply a clear tone, like a clear brown or a mixture of clear red and clear brown, and you'll get some nicer skin tones than that. Because like, it's, yeah, I had to do so much experimentation to get that kit to, like, the paint to a point where I think it would be acceptable, because the ashiness is not cute. It doesn't look good for any like darker skin toned character, and really a lot of like anime dark toned characters are not like really dark. They're just like tanned. Like, it's just a problem with Japan in general. They say like, you know, here's this really dark tanned character, and they're really not. It's just like they're pretty light in the scheme of things. So I enjoy Lascivus, but I don't fall back on them. That's my problem, is like, out of all of them, I go through CL03 the most. I really think that that is a genuinely nice tone, because it's redder than the pink, but it's like, it's redder than the 059, the Gaia Notes one, but it's not the same as if you were taking a clear red out of the bottle and applying that. Like, it's got some sort of pink, softer tone in it that makes it really nice to work with, and so that's one that I would definitely buy if you were, you know, looking at Mr. Lascivus stuff. I probably wouldn't buy the 04 again, the orange, because it really just comes out like neon orange. It's really fluorescent. It's not at all like the Gaia Notes orange, because the Gaia Notes orange, like, it looked super fluo, but it doesn't come out that way at all. It ends down like really crazy well, whereas the orange from Lascivus line is just so bright, and so I haven't used that one really for anything. And then the brown is kind of a toss-up. I've used it sometimes. It's good for the tanned ones, but I don't find myself falling back on that one either. So in conclusion, it's like really difficult to find anime skin tones that work well, and like bottle tones that work well. I almost always mix from scratch. I don't really use bottled like skin tones. I even have a handful of like the Gaia Notes bottled skin tones. Like, I've got the 054, which is Notes Flesh Orange. I've got the 053, which is the Notes Flesh Pink. But they come out so yellow or so pink, and it just doesn't work for the tones that I use. I haven't mixed these in a while, so you can see that the mixture is like two different components here. But yeah, so I don't know. There's a lot of ways to get a kit painted, and I think in the end it just depends on what you feel comfortable with and whether you want to work with transparent paints or opaque paints. At this point, I can confidently say I've had, you know, a number of years of experience with the Gaia Notes clear skin stuff, and I feel like I've gotten fairly good at it, but it's difficult. Like there's a high learning curve. You really risk, you know, messing it up because it is basically a one-shot only type of paint. If you're applying so many thin layers, if you like if your paintbrush splutters or if something goes wrong with it, you gotta start over. Like that's just how it is. And so the opaque paints give you more room for error. There's a higher margin of error that you can work with, because if you're just spraying something opaque and you splutter a little bit, provided the whole piece is already a similar color, it's not going to be too difficult to blend that in. But clear paints, you can't do that. So that's pretty much my rant on clear skin. I don't know if it started out that way, but it ended up being a rant. There's also a couple of other skin tones available now, like I think there's one called like Gaia Moto Pro Mix, which is a different brand, not related to Gaia Notes brand, but I haven't really tried that one, and from what I've seen it just is super fluo, so I don't know if I would try it. There's not really that many other alternatives for clear skin tones, so it can be tough. I think a lot of people are springing for the Lash of This now just because it's like actually obtainable. This Gaia Notes stuff's so difficult to find now. Okay. While I was ranting, I was just kind of idly sanding, so I don't even realize how far I've gotten. Seems pretty good. There's only about this much left, so we were past the halfway mark at this point. Okay. And I haven't even started on my pearls rant, so pearls with skin tone. That's a whole other rant. Don't know if I feel like talking about it today. It wouldn't be that long of a rant. Okay. Okay, keep going. This side especially is really bad. Yeah, it's pretty crazy how much this Bondo filled in. Yeah, I feel you, Canon. Like, if you hadn't ordered it pre-pandemic or like right before, you know, even right in the middle of when all this crazy stuff started happening, it's like impossible to find right now. Unless you have it, like someone directly living in Japan ship it to you. I haven't seen it for sale on any site in like months at this point. Last time I saw was like early mid-December, and I just haven't been able to find it since. Sucks. It's like really disrupted everything. I got kind of lucky because I ordered a bunch as part of my regular restock, which I got last March, so last year. I ordered a restock, and that's right when like COVID was about to start happening, and so I ended up with a whole bunch of the Gaia Notes orange, the fleshless orange, but I didn't order as much of the fleshless pink as I thought I should, and so I have this nice back stock of orange, but I'm gonna, like, I use the pink way more, and so I am hoping that things pick up again, and so I'll be able to get my hands on some more pink, because there's no way I'm gonna paint a kit with just Gaia Notes fleshless orange. I think it's really, really orange. I hope shipping is better soon, you know. Seems like a lot of places are finally starting to get vaccines rolled out, so hopefully that will speed up things. Who even knows, maybe someone has their paint stuck in that canal in Egypt. Have you guys seen what's happening with that? I don't know if it's... Yeah, I was just pointing that out, monkey. Someone's paint is just stuck in the middle of the canal in Egypt. That's crazy. I don't know if it's even been out yet. Last I checked was like 2 days ago. But last I was reading is that it would take weeks to get it out, which is just insane. It actually surprised me, like, that hasn't happened before. Because that canal is so narrow. It's crazy. Oh, good. Yeah, if it got unstuck, that's fantastic because it really backed everything up. The memes that have come out of that have been pretty funny in like a bad way, but they're still pretty funny. The size of it was just crazy though, like seeing the comparison of the boat compared to like modern machinery equipment trying to unstick it. It's just crazy. Like fighting a titan, you know? Okay. Yeah, pretty much. Just man. That's good though. It's so crazy how you know, globalized everything is these days, and so even something like that will just disrupt the whole system, you know, even if it's unintentional. Okay. Making good progress with these frills, although I feel like we've basically been sanding this for like 45 minutes. Oh no, I don't even want to see those, monkey. I'm sure. Something boats, 50-foot woman. You know how boats and internet is. With the variety of games we now have available for every waifu boat. Okay, pushing out some of this putty. It really got stuck in between the frills here. Oh no. I know I'm gonna end up seeing those. I'm on Twitter enough. It's just gonna pop up naturally on my feed. Somebody who I follow will have liked a meme like that. Okay, wiping out this extra one, which is kind of nuts. There's actually a ton of bubbles inside of this particular frill ruffle area. Keep calling them frills, but I'm not even sure if that's the correct term because I know there is differentiation between the two. Wow, wild. This whole thing's wild. Like putting it closer to my face real quick. Oh my god. Okay, there's only like 5 more of these inner folds stand out, so we're pretty good. Once it's all sanded, that's where the cool photos will come out because it'll just be whatever's left. Okay. And I'm gonna dig out this. Dig out some of this. There's like a crevice in between the frills too, like the top, that not sure if it was just not sculpted or what, but Putty is filling all of that in. A lot of bubbles along the top of these frills as well. See if I can sand that down a little more. Yeah, this is gonna be interesting putty, or priming. I know I've said that a couple times, but I mean it. Okay. 4 left, or no, yeah, 4 left. Almost 3. Okay. There's a big scratch inside of this one. That one's gonna be difficult when we prime this. I know I'm gonna have to do some filling in there. Might just leave it, to be honest. Some of this stuff is so difficult to reach that it's really not worth the amount of time or effort to correct every single one of these. Okay. Let's see, just hoping I get a lot of practice on skip before you. Oh, wait, 2 comments. Saw a screenshot of a traffic cam. What the heck of an evergreen? Wow. Man, what the heck? What the heck, monkey? That is interesting. I don't know. Sometimes you just wonder how this stuff ends up in these situations. And now it's like so instantaneous online, you know, that anybody worldwide can see it and be like, oh my god, what's going on? Wild. And then let's see, just hoping I get a lot of practice on skin before you work on your violet kit. I'm sure you will, Canon, as long as you're building other kits. And if not, just practice on spoons. You know, that's what every other modeler does. I certainly did a lot of skin tone practicing on spoons and figuring out ratios before I paint my kits. I pretty much do that as good practice before I'm painting any of my kits. Is I mix the ratio of, you know, skin tone that I think will work, and then I test it on a spoon or some other, you know, curved surface. It's always a spoon. And then if I like it, great. If I don't, then I just alter the recipe and, you know, test it again. So last thing that at least I want to do is spray paint onto a kit blindly. So I almost always practice, I mix my tones and then test it on a spoon before I put it on my kit. And even then, sometimes it just changes a little bit because spoons are nice and white, but then primer is going to be, you know, different color if it's gray or whatever. So if you're going to be putting gray primer, don't practice on a white spoon, practice on a gray primed spoon, that kind of thing. Yeah, I guess that's pretty much it. Practice, practice, practice. And understanding color theory and just color in general is actually really beneficial in this hobby too. You don't necessarily need to come from an art background, you know, I don't have a formal art education, quite the opposite actually. I have a scientific background in education, but I took art in high school and stuff, and so I have a basic understanding of color theory, and at this point I go out of my way to learn more. But that will help you in this hobby if you know what colors to layer, if you know the difference between complementary colors, color palettes and schemes, and you know what colors will look like next to each other. You know, often the answer is they'll look very different depending on what color you are choosing, you know. So it's all good stuff to be mindful of in practice, you know, especially if you're learning to mix paints, because once you get into that, you can do all sorts of crazy stuff. Mixing browns and adding cool colors to warm ones, and adding opposite colors of the color spectrum together to mix, you know, cooler colors. It's all sorts of different things you can do. So just fun practice stuff. Sometimes I'll just you know, try to mix colors from the paints that I have, see and test what they'll look like. Okay. Almost there at this point. There's this last one, I think. But yeah, even if you're just starting out and you're spraying on stuff that's from a bottle, that's totally fine too. There's nothing wrong with that. There's no rule that says you have to mix your own colors. We're all here for fun. Okay, just looking at this piece real close. Got real crazy at the end there. It's actually one of the worst fills. Okay, do this one more. Quick look. There's a couple spots where I think I need to sand down some more, but let me do this real quick. Brush this off. Let me take a photo or two to show you guys. Yep, Anamanaguchi classic. Didn't they have a new album they put out recently? I think so. Okay. Might be able to see my camera here, but I can show you guys the atrocity. Oh yeah, that's nice. Okay. So here's one side. Let me zoom in real close. You kind of see the light's kind of harsh, but all of this, well, all the red, this whole kit is sanded down at this point, so all of the red is areas that it's filled in, or remnants of what's a hole. I might need to sand this more. I don't know if this is all putty. But like all of this, these are all holes that were filled in on this kit. So you can see the slope here is the side of the ruffle or the frill, the inner side. So a lot of this I carved out, and then I noticed all of these holes. This is the top of a lace frill, the inside, and it just kind of goes on and on like that. So every single frill has issues. You can see it here. The other side, let's see, that was one side. This is the other side. Same exact thing. Like all of this are holes. Then this is the inside. You can see the side here. The outside. So this right around here is where it starts getting crazy. All sorts of holes here. I just read your comment. I think I'll take that as a compliment. It's like relaxing art stream. Yeah, I mean, you didn't miss much. Like you're watching the exciting part now. So this is the inside of the frill, and right here, like look how crazy this is. What the heck? Like why are there all of these micro holes in this kit? It's insane. Hey, thanks for the follow, Miss Lilius. I love it. We are showing off a damage report of what I just sanded. So I'm looking at this piece. This is the piece right here. And then this is all the stuff that I just filled in. And so it's kind of crazy the damage that this kit has. This is just one piece. So, and it goes all the way around. I'm kind of amazed at the damage, honestly. And so, yeah, that's this piece. I'll probably take another look at it off stream to see if there's any like tiny spots I missed. But I think we're good to just continue on and move on the other pieces right now. Because yeah, I don't want to be sitting here during the whole stream and just like trying to perfect this kit, knowing that more issues are going to show up when we primer. That's definitely going to happen. If it doesn't, like we'll consider this an excellent first job that I did. And the what you want ideally is this first pass to be the biggest one, and then this second and third priming or whatever won't be as intensive. Let's see. Yeah, it's super crazy. Last thing you remember was boat talk. I don't think you missed too much then. There was a, what was the other spiel? I don't remember. You didn't miss much. But yeah, so we're gonna move on. Next off, I think I'm gonna work on, well, I don't really want to do more fills. Let's do her arms. So before we had some arms that we put a bunch of putty on, and all of this is dry at this point, so I can kind of do whatever. And so I will just start right away on sanding her arms down. So I'm just gonna go in with my 800 grit sandpaper and see how the damage is on here. Not gonna have anywhere near as many issues as the frills that we just corrected. That was one of the big ones. The other one that we haven't tackled is this piece. Also lots and lots of micro bubbles on here. So hopefully these next ones will not be as labor intensive. Oh, this is a long ass song, I remember, so I'm just gonna skip this one. Okay. Not seeing anything yet, but also it might not be on the seam line yet. Some like motorcycle outside. I can hear him revving up. Okay. So right now I'm just kind of rotating around the piece. I applied putty to pretty much all of it, but I'm just gonna work on it like moving up, and so sanding everything off from the bottom first. Let me take a quick look. A little too early to tell right now. There's a lot of excess just kind of floating on it. Do you remember that? Yeah, the insides here had a few bits. Yeah, the bottom is a little bit rough. There's a couple minor issues. Kind of brushing off the putty onto this paper towel. Okay. You're gonna look here and there. What you can also do, and what I will do real quickly, take a Q-tip and some thinner and just wipe it off real quick. Yeah, and that way you can see really quickly without taking the putty out of the bubbles where the damage is. And so this was a little difficult to see before, but I now see there's a whole bunch of micro bubbles along the inside of her arm. Actually, tempting me. It's too tempting to do this. I'm gonna quickly put it on these frills. But not enough to thin it down, just to remove the excess real quick. Wow. I'm just so amazed at how horrible these frills are. Not really anything worth taking another photo, but it removes like all of the little red dusty, and so you can just see the bright red holes that are left behind. It's pretty wild. Okay. What the heck's happening here? Okay, just the area I haven't sanded yet. Every time I see like a little bit of dust, I'm just like, oh no, more holes. But still just leftovers. Stuff to sand. This will make, this kit's gonna make some exciting photos once I get around to posting more updates on this kit on Instagram and my social media. I haven't really posted anything for this kit yet because I like to have a lot of photos ready before I post a substantial update. Like I don't really post 1 or 2 photo updates, I just bulk upload things, and so I wanted to make sure we had a lot of content for this kit before I post an update. Okay, what's happening here? Also a fair number of scratches that got filled in. Maybe I was too rough with my 400 grit. There's a lot up at the top there. Okay. Oh, a lot of putty. A little bit too much on, I think. Annoying to sand down. Okay. Yeah, now I'm just kind of working all over the kit. Before we were working at the bottom, but I've sanded down enough that it's just kind of all over in random spots. So I'm gonna grab another piece of sandpaper. Oops. Oh. Kind of saving the inside for last. It's a little hard to get inside her like armpit shoulder area, so we'll wait for that. Let me see. Got a whole bunch of papers here. They keep falling to the bottom. I think that's all 400 grit though. Yeah. 20. Yeah, this would be 100. Yeah, I cut a bunch of 1500 for the kit that my commission that I'm working on because I'm at the priming stage for that, and so I needed a bunch on hand. But I'm almost out of this 800 because we've been using so much of it on here, and then I was also using it for my commission, and so I will need to cut some more. This is like pretty much the last one that I have, so I might need to reach over in a little bit and cut some more on stream. Okay, this one's pretty easy to over sand, so I don't want to do too much up here. There we go. And see down here. I think the thinner would work really well here. Let me try real quick. So let's see. Kind of hard to tell. I think there's a lot of like really minor ones that got filled in. And so if I apply any more, it might take that putty right out. See if I can use my cloth. I know that when I sanded this seam line out the first time, I ended up using cloth in that area, so see if that works the second time. Small. Wow, tough spot. Okay, there we go. There we go, perfect. Okay. Oh yeah, it works great. So sometimes you just need a different paper to help you do the job. And let's actually do that here too. Yeah, just taking the bendable sandpaper, moving it kind of along everything. And we've got a bunch of excess dust here, so that's all from the inside. Just gonna brush that off. A bunch here. Can't tell if those are areas that need to be sanded or holes. Hard to tell. So that means I need to go in again with precision toothpick. Used a couple of them at this point. Yeah, it's kind of a mix of both. There's some little holes that filled in here, but there's also just putty that got stuck that like it can't sand off well. So I'm simultaneously rubbing excess putty off and then pushing it into the tiny micro holes. Good and bad. It's a lot easier and smoother process if you just sand it down with sandpaper, because that way you're absolutely getting it into those micro holes. If you're just kind of like, you know, using force and pushing a toothpick against it, you risk having some of that putty exit the micro hole. A little bit more inconsistent, but for these small areas, I'm just gonna give it a try. Okay. Getting to a point where this is almost done. Still quite red though. Grab another sandpaper. Give it a brief sanding all over. Remove some of that extra red. Okay. And let me take a quick look off screen. Okay. I think we're good for a photo. It's definitely not as exciting as the ruffles. So most of the bubbles were concentrated in like her armpit, and so you can see they're all right here. There's really not actually many at all on the exterior side of her arm. On the inside there are quite a few, so you can't see them at all in this photo, but on the other side, so on this side, there's a lot of bubbles there too. So it seems like most of the seam line issues were along this inner side, where the seam line did not match up during the cast. There's also a couple up here. This is where her arm will fit into her hand on the apron. There's one bigger one I filled in right here, and then a couple small ones, but other than that, not too bad. There's also a bit of scratching that happened near the top of her shoulder here. where this point is, and you can't see it on this camera, but it's definitely there. This looks like, the one right here looks like that was probably my error, and because I haven't really seen much scratching on this kit, it's just micro holes that I did not do. So any scratches are probably my mistake. I went in too far with the sandpaper. Okay, just wrapping this one up real quick. Over here. And I'm going to test this here. So you can see kind of the color difference here. This one is a little bit more reddish tinted now because we put a bunch of putty on it. So there's also a hole right here that got filled in. It's kind of odd, but let's see. Is it often more bubbles on smaller? Definitely kit to kit, Lilies. It just kind of varies. I've had really nice chibi style kits, super smooth, no problems. I've also had really terrible chibi kits. I've had awesome, huge kits and bad ones. So for this kit, it was, I know pretty much for a fact, this is a much smaller sculptor, so not very popular sculptor, small artist, and so they most likely cast and made this kit in their workstation at their home, so they didn't like send it to a company to cast it for them. And so when that happens, when you get these kits made by the actual people who are sculpting and doing all of that, you can sometimes get some pretty rough figures and some pretty bad casts that have a lot of issues like this. And so unfortunately, that's just kind of what happens if you're buying original kits sometimes. If you're wanting to support the artists directly who made them, they don't have the funds or the ability to, give it to a really nice workshop or pay for, really high-end equipment. So sometimes you end up with stuff like this. So yeah, definitely varies kit to kit. You're buying from like a major company, like Volks, so they're Charagumins. That's a line of colored resin garage kits. Those are generally pretty like standard quality. You're not going to get anything like insane like this. If you're ordering from bigger, like a big time sculptors, like Grizzly Panda is one that comes to mind. They do a lot of Fate, grand order kits. Their kits are one of the best I've ever seen. They have such nice kits. It's pretty much almost ready for assembly out of the box. You just gotta sand down all the, extra baby seam lines, and then the assembly is a dream and it's perfect. So yeah, that's pretty much it. There's a wild variety, which makes this hobby fun, I guess. But I specifically wanted to show off how bad this one was, so you guys would have an idea of what a like lesser than average like bad kit looks like. And so all the stuff that I would do to that kit is what you're seeing. So you're kind of seeing the techniques that I use and the way that I prepare my kits for painting and all of that. Because it can be scary or intimidating to receive a figure that you're really excited about, and then it comes with all these issues and you're just like, I don't even want to work with that. But if you have the skills, or not even skills, you don't need them, just the tools and a guide or anything you can follow, you'll get better in no time. I do also want to say, I guess I haven't formally advertised it or anything, but I have been putting all of these Twitch streams on a YouTube channel, so it's the same thing. It's Plum Workshop. There's nothing fancy going on with them. It's just a direct download from Twitch and ported onto YouTube because Twitch does delete streams. I don't have it set up with Prime or anything, and so it deletes them quite often. So I forgot what number we're on. It's definitely deleted the past 4 or 5 streams that I've already done. So if you have questions or you need a reference, if you saw something in one of my previous streams, you can just go to YouTube and then look up Plum Workshop, and I should be the first thing that pops up there, at least one of them, if you search by user. And yeah, they're all numbered the same as my Twitch streams. It's just like they've got the thumbnail, same thing. So I just figured it would be a good idea to keep them and upload them directly, because I don't really want to store like hundreds of gigs of these streams on my computer. Yeah, like I've been downloading them, and each of them is like at least 3 to 5 gigs of just like streaming and talking, and so yeah, it's a little much. It's much easier to just put them directly on YouTube. Keep in mind though that sometimes Twitch has like muted my audio because of the song or something, and so in some cases, if you're watching the video, it's going to be muted in some spots. It varies from stream to stream, I think. It's generally not more than a couple minutes at a time, but if it suddenly goes, yeah, nice, thanks for the subscription. If it goes like audio mute suddenly, it's probably because I got like copyrighted. But yeah, hopefully, like once, I'm not gonna make YouTube specific videos. It's not something I've ever really done, but they will be split up by series, and so like eventually we're gonna get to a point where you finish this Maid, and we're looking for like a new project, and so I'll have all of those Maid videos in like a playlist, and then, you know, other kits will be in other playlists. I've also just kind of been labeling them like part 1, part 2, yada yada, so I have no idea how many parts like this is gonna be. I think we're already on like part 10, which means like 20 hours or something of a stream. Pretty crazy. But yeah, you know, I figured it might as well, like, if it's gonna delete anyway, I should just store it somewhere else. And YouTube's crazy, like thinking about all of the, you know, stuff they just store on there forever. Wild. I'm not much of a YouTuber like person, not in the sense of like creator, but I don't even really watch YouTube, and so yeah, I would not expect or don't expect like content made for YouTube. Yeah, oh my god. You know, honestly, 16 hours isn't that bad. I say that with affection, because I have had to, you know, start recording my time and stuff for commissions, and it can get pretty nuts pretty quick, depending on how bad the kit is. So far it's like pretty good. If we're able to start like painting like 30 hours in, that's pretty good. Painting itself will probably take at least like 10-12 hours at least, but this kit is pretty simple, so it may not be that bad. We really only have her like hair color, which is 2 pieces, and then her skin, and a lot of the like frills and stuff are the same color. So, and white is like the easiest to paint, so like that's not really gonna be a problem. Her eyes though, they're gonna take a while, so that will be interesting. I don't know if I will even be able to show all of that, so we might do that in like 2-hour increments, like doing layers, and then I'll say like, oh, I'll do this step next time, and that kind of thing. Painting will be interesting, that's what I mean. It's gonna get a little complicated, and I gotta figure out how to set up my camera inside of my spray booth, but we will be getting to that step soon, so I need to start thinking about it. Probably also do a couple spoon tests before I, you know, start spraying on the kit, and so some of these streams might be like shorter or longer. I'm not really sure yet. We've been able to do the 2-hour thing pretty consistently so far, but that's because prep is just like a continuous process. But when it gets to painting, sometimes you need to like paint an area and then wait for that to dry and top coat it, and then wait, you know, overnight. At least I like to wait overnight before masking it, and so we'll figure it out. It's not as easy as just like, you know, doing everything all at once. At least not the way that I typically paint. Okay. Keep trying to sand in between this crack here, like her arm. And the magnet is going towards the alligator clip, so I gotta hold it a little tighter. Okay. Brush off some of this. Yep, here it is. I do have another kit that I just recently finished that I posted kind of an update on Instagram. It's my little cola girl, and she is pretty much done at this point, so I just need to take some photos and wrap her up. So expect another post in the next week or so. And then it's pretty much full-blown commissions time, as well as this kit. I really need to finish up the ones that are in my wait list before school starts. Okay. I put a little bit too much putty on this. And her, like, side of her arm is getting filled in. Wow, okay. Turns out there's actually like a number of bubbles there. But I don't really care that much because they're not going to be visible. Interesting though. Let me test this real quick. Yeah, it's not visible whatsoever. I think, yeah. Just looking at it real quick, seeing where I need to target sanding next. Yeah, I think she'll be nice hollow. I always like painting these little original characters. They're just fun for me. They're like side projects. But the Cola Girl is one that I wanted to paint like as much as last year, but I didn't have a chance because I was working on other stuff. So I really just had like a little bug in my mind that I wanted to get her done. Ever since like last September, October. It's been a while at this point. But scheduling, you know, don't have time. There was like a gap between commission I finished up and the one that like I was working on, and so I didn't think Colaton, the little Cola Girl, would take as long as she did, but it'll be nice now that she's wrapped up. My mind gets like focused on one and then I get distracted and then I put other stuff off, so now it's 0 distractions. Okay. Just looking at this up close again, this piece over, like this arm, I think is in worse shape than the other one, but they're both pretty similar overall. Okay, let's do this real quick. The area here to wipe off. Okay, try to sand this too. Yeah, okay, I think it's good. Let me get another quick photo. There's really, again, not too much to see in this piece, but I do want to make sure you guys are aware of what I'm doing, so it's not just like me sanding rando. There we go. Okay, so here is the, whoa, there we go. The other side, so this is the inner side of her arm. So if we're looking at it like this, like that, whoops, as I drop it, this is what it'll look like. So there's all this stuff I filled in here, which is not needed. Oh, I'll see all my photos. No, Cola spoiler. You'll see soon. Yeah, so this is her arm. Whoa, zoom in. There we go. So this is her like area that is not going to be visible. So the inside, you can see the magnet here. But then all of this right here, these are all holes that are on the inside of her shoulder. So you can see that there. And there's also all this stuff in the bottom here that's kind of rough. And yeah, that's pretty much it. Okay, So now that we finished this one, let me give it one final wipe, and I will move on. So I'm just cleaning off any excess red dust real quick, not enough to wipe out the holes that I filled in. Okay, that should be good. I'll put that piece over here. Let's see, what else do we have time? Oh wait, it's already 10. Oh my god, time fly. Let me just sand this side real quick, and then the rest of this we will put off until Wednesday. So we really only have these pieces left, 2 of which are already like bondoed. The faces, I'm not sure yet, but this one is going to be a tough job, and then I'm not sure the damage on this. So I'm going to use sanding this down as kind of the gauge of how bad this kit will be. Or this piece. So let's just do this real quick. It shouldn't take that long. I'm gonna use a 400 to take off all this extra stuff real quick. It kind of lathered it on here. And wipe that off. Don't want to do too much. Okay, that's about where I'll like stop. And then I will continue with the 800. So dusty. Wow, I can see all that dust. Gotta blow it off. Grab another piece. Okay, I'm not really seeing any bubbles, which is a good thing. There's a little scratch that was filled in. Okay, couple scratches here. So this is where I figured the damage would be. It's kind of right along here, the edge of her hair. Also a bunch of putty here. I'm not going to sand down this. I'm just going to directly apply thinner. But what you really don't want to happen is if you start sanding the inside and then you put the faces and the hair together and then it just doesn't fit anymore. So like I'm talking about like this fit here along the side here. If you start sanding this, you risk there becoming a gap between the two pieces. Right now it's a pretty good fit, so we don't want to alter that in any way. And besides, you're not really going to see any of the holes. Wow. There. You're not going to see any of the putty holes that are on the inside here. So I usually don't repair things that are like on the inside. The one exception to that is if the kit has a skirt that's going to be visible. So if, you know, the really inside of here is like visible somehow, or if there's like a cape, then you would want to fix both sides of the cape or whatever piece you're working with to make sure that it looks good from any angle. But if you're not going to see it at all, why bother? Okay. Just about done. That. Let me wipe this off real quick. A lot of red already. There's so much dust that generates. So let's see. Yeah, really not too much. This side is pretty good actually. There's a couple of minor scratches that I filled in, and just a few tiny bubbles. Let me take a quick photo and that will be the last one for tonight. Oh yeah, these ones are so small it's not even showing up. Okay, yeah, I don't think it's going to be even worth it to show it. They're so minuscule that I can't even really get a good photo with my camera. And my camera usually picks everything up. So, I think we're good. Oh yeah, there's also a couple down here. So, I'll have to remind myself next time that we only really puttied here to here. Next time we do this, we're going to have to start, you know, on this end, work along every single one of these. I do remember there being some issues on the inside here of her hair, And so then we'll work our way back up, and then we can end like right where this hair starts. We don't need to cover this part. I think, yeah, there's also a couple of minor scratches inside of here, like on the inside of her hair here and like here, because I did have to do a bunch of like carving in the initial step. Remember, we had some trouble with there being like a resin tab here and like down here, so I can already see there's a couple scratches Bondo is going to fill in. So that's pretty much my wrap up for today. So next time on Wednesday, we will, let's see what day that is. That is the 31st. So Wednesday the 31st, last day of March, not yet April 1st. We will be wrapping up, hopefully, well, we'll see. We've got this hair to finish and these two face plates. So hopefully there's not too much on those. We have her apron, which is going to be one of the worst ones, probably as bad as the ruffles here. And then her two hair bands. So these are all that's left in our like puttying adventure. So far we've done all of these ones, so there's quite a bit here. You guys didn't see this when I did it. But yeah, so we've done all of these in the hours that we have spent together. Quite a bit actually. It feels like, you know, there's been a lot of work happening on this kit because I dropped the pieces, you know. That's just what I do. In any case, that's it for tonight. I hope you guys all have a great rest of your night, and I hope that your week goes well, whether you're working or going to school or doing whatever. So stay tuned, more Bondo happening on Wednesday. In the meantime, I hope you all have a good night and day and rest of your work week. Talk to you guys later. Bye-bye.